Hi, Jona. I am so glad to be one-on-one with you, face to face over the internet and chatting because you've been a member with the Autism Little Learners membership. Actually, how long now has it been?
It's been about a year.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. It was about a year. Um, so can you tell everybody just a little bit about yourself and what you do?
So, my name is Jona. I live in a small town in northern Arizona. I actually started teaching at our developmental preschool when my son's teacher retired. I had no idea about special education at the preschool level. I was a certified gen ed teacher, and he was on an IEP for speech. And his teacher allowed me to be a parent helper, and I just fell in love with it. And so when she retired, I interviewed for the position, got it, and worked on my special ed certificate while I was teaching that first year.
Wow.
So
What a
that's
way
how I
to
came to be. That was 7 years ago.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I know you had said you're coming on, I think your eighth year of teaching. So what a way to enter special education and working with young kids. You said you have a range of kids, some autistic, and other kids with other educational labels too.
Yeah, so my classroom is supposed to be an inclusive classroom. So I have gen ed students or gen ed peers, we call them our peers. And then students that are on an IEP, it can be a whole range from autism, Down syndrome, other genetic conditions, hearing impairment, vision impairment. It's basically whatever file comes across my desk. I learn about about what they need and try
Oh,
my best to meet their needs. My caseload is usually 14 to 21 kids per class.
wow. That's a lot. And you have
Mhm.
gen ed mix in there too, which is great for integration. But that's a handful.
It is. I ended this year with 29 on my caseload for
Oh my
IEPs.
goodness. That's a huge variety of needs to meet too. But you're killing it. You're doing such an awesome job. I love when you post in our Facebook community and share kind of what you're doing and different activities that you've created. And it's just been fun to watch you kind of build your confidence around specifically around autism this year. And I don't know, what do you think initially drew you to the Autism Little Learners membership? And how has it impacted you as a teacher?
So it was the reason why I know I've been in there for a year because it was at the beginning of the school year. I was absolutely desperate. Previous years, I had been able to figure out like tips and tricks to work with my students to make my classroom run fairly smoothly. But this beginning of this last school year, I felt like my classroom was a sinking ship.
Mm.
I had been starting to listen to your podcast, but it wasn't going well. And so I remember you had posted about the Autism Little Learners membership, and I was like, no, I can't justify the cost. I can't justify the cost. And I believe it was I want to say almost down to the last hour before you closed the doors, where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it because I can't do this anymore. My aides were overwhelmed. My students were overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed. I was just going home every day, just feeling like I can't do this. I've used all the tools in my tool belt. And so I joined. And I remember that night I got home from work and it was pizza movie night for my family because that's something we do every Friday. And I told my husband, I said, you know what, I'm just going to sit and watch these videos. I was like, I joined this membership thing. I'm just going to check it out for a bit while we're watching, whatever movie. So I was sitting on the couch and I want to say I watched probably 2 hours of your training videos in one sitting, and I still have one of the pages. I had made front to back notes of like all the things I was going to change. And so then that Monday morning I came in and I told my team, I said, okay, I've done hours of research. We're going to try something different. It might not work right away, but we're going to give it a try. And the things that I learned from those training videos really set the course for my room to become a more inviting place for kids to be, where it wasn't so much overwhelm. It still was overwhelming. It's still a lot of kids, a lot of needs. Um, but I felt like with joining the membership, I was like, hey, I can do this. And there's more resources out there than what I had before.
Okay. Not only do I feel like I could shed a tear because that was so kind of you, but I didn't know you were like down to the last minute. Like, should I or shouldn't I? Should I or shouldn't I? So it makes me laugh now because you're just so in and so, Jana is an action taker, and those are the people that do best with the resources available in the membership, and the trainings are, you just got to try it, right? Find something that speaks to you, and I'm just so happy that it's transformed your classroom in that way. Okay, I'm going to cut that. I think we froze,
Hmm.
but I'm going to just keep talking and I'll just cut this little part out. And we'll see if we made it
Okay.
pretty far without a freeze though, so that's good. Okay. I'm trying to I can't tell. Okay, we're both here, right? Can you
Yeah,
hear?
we're here.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear
Okay.
you.
Perfect. Donna, I'm so impressed that you're such an action taker, and I had no idea that you were down to like the last minute before you joined. And people like you are the ones that really make the membership work and are successful in transforming their classroom. And kudos to you for going, okay, I'm going to take this, I'm going to try it, give it a certain amount of time and see if it works. And I think that's where the community in the membership is so helpful, because any of you that have a question or are wondering about something, everyone else will chime in with their experience and support each other too. And I thank you for being one of those people that supports everyone in the community. So, can you share a specific example or success story that of something you've applied in particular from the membership that's helped you in your classroom?
So it was actually something I posted in the Facebook group. It was my table rotations were an absolute nightmare. It was something that we're supposed to do for the curriculum, but I had so many students, mainly on the autism spectrum, but also some with just things going on that they needed that additional support. Mess. And so
Hold on one
after
sec.
watching those videos,
You froze, but you were saying you froze, but it was uh-oh, I think you're frozen
I
again.
cut out.
Uh-oh. Okay, are we back? Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, I
You
think we're good.
froze right when
No,
you were saying that you had many students in your classroom on the autism spectrum.
okay.
So maybe if you just start
So
there, like many were on the,
many were on the autism spectrum and other genetic things. Other diagnoses, and so just one-on-one with the students. And so during free play, I would just pull these groups of students that were struggling with table rotations, and we would do a kind of a mini one at the back table one-on-one. And so I used a lot of your supports and rotation ideas to keep the consistency. It was the same color labels as what it would be when they joined our whole group rotations later on. And it took a few months, but by the end of the school year, every kid was part of their table rotations.
oh,
They were participating with their entire class because I had taken those weeks to just work with them one on one, teaching them how to rotate using visuals, using the weight mat, using the all done bucket, using all those supports. Um, then they were able to join their peers with what it would look like for the rest of the class, because I'm always looking for what they can do so they can be a part of their class in kindergarten.
oh, that's amazing. Like really, really special that you have that setup too, where you can say, okay, I want them to participate with their peers, but we need to modify, adjust, change some things up so that they can do that meaningfully, whether it's an accommodation or modifying some of the curriculum. And it sounds like you put in the time and it really worked for you guys. I love it. Okay, so can you share what challenges you maybe faced in your work with autistic kids and how the membership maybe helped you address those challenges?
For me, a lot of the challenges is that there's not a lot of support. There's not a lot of professional development for where I work. If I taught kindergarten, if I taught first grade, there's our district offers a lot of professional development. They have a lot of support. But for several years, there were just two special education teachers at the preschool level. So we were doing a lot of trial and error by ourselves. We're up to three special education teachers at the preschool, which is great. We love it. um, and so what the membership provided was PD trainings that I could do on my own time that were actually geared towards my students. They weren't geared towards kindergarten, they were geared towards preschool, which is such a big difference. And so, like I said, I've watched countless hours. I have kind of as my weekly checklist for my paraprofessionals during prep time, they're expected to listen to some of the podcast episodes. So I'll take whatever's going on in class and I'll say, this is the podcast episode you're listening to today while you're prepping. Um, because there's just not very many resources for the preschool level.
Yeah, definitely. I share that sentiment, and it's part of why I started Autism Little Learners because everything that I would purchase and download, I would think, oh, this is going to be great for my students. And then I would download it and I'd be like, oh, it's just not quite right. It's just not quite at that right level. And so you, me, everybody at this level has at some time, or maybe a lot, modified. You have to modify whatever you purchase that you think is at the right level. And so that's where I really try to provide resources and ideas and training for kids that are like just coming in to the classroom setting. They could be 3 years old. Doesn't matter if they're speaking or non-speaking, just trying to fulfill that gap in both training and materials that teachers can have access to. So, what advice would you give to other educators or parents who are where you were a year ago, considering joining, but like, oh, I don't know if it's worth it. And is there a particular resource or strategy that you found helpful? I know we just talked about a few of them.
So I would say, what I did when I decided to join the membership is I told myself I'm going to try for a month. Like
Mhm.
I'm going to give it my all for 1 month. And I'm just, I kind of always had it on my to-do list, like go on to Autism Little Learners, go on to the membership hub, find things. And I told myself after a month, if it's not working out, I'll cancel. Well, clearly it's working out.
Good.
So that's what I would encourage everyone. If you're feeling like I'm overwhelmed, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to start, give yourself like, hey, I'm just going to try this for a month and see what happens and give it your all. Like give it a really good try and just see what happens, because that's what I did. And I'm still here and I continue to participate in every opportunity that's available and given to me, because it has really dynamically changed my classroom. It's changed how I train and support my paras, and it's changed how I teach and how I make sure that needs are being met for all my students.
Mm.
And
Jonna,
then
I'm so excited again to just hear this from you one-on-one because we're on group coaching calls sometimes, and in fact last night we were able to talk. We were doing a book talk for the membership, but being able to talk to you one-on-one like this is really a treat.
yeah, and I'd say the resource that's probably the most used in my classroom are like the level one visual art ones. We were moving, so I have some of the stuff in there. So like this one, this
Oh yeah.
format. Um, First of all, as a teacher that has a huge caseload, I love that it's just print and go. I can print it and we can move on. There's not a lot of prep. There's no resources I have to buy as far as Velcro or lamination. And it's the one activity that is engaging for all of my students. So my
Mm,
students that are the gen ed peers, they love these activities because they can use a lot of colors. They can take a lot of time. My autistic students or my students that are just learning how to sit and attend for a minute, they can be engaged on it. So it's the one resource that has completely leveled the playing field for all my students. I don't have to modify it much and everybody enjoys it. In fact, the one I just showed, we actually used hot glue and we outlined it all for our students that just wanted to scribble to try to help them like color in the lines a little bit better. And it's just a fun sensory texture thing. But I'd say that's probably my most used resource because it's so easy to use and it's accessible for everybody.
mm. That's so good to hear and so good to know. I'm going to try to come up with, after hearing that, some more like print and go activities because I think everybody has those days where they need them. Because, for us at this level, a lot of it does involve lamination and cutting and Velcro, and it takes a while. So more of that grab and go is helpful to everybody. And, when Jana just talked about using the glue to outline, those are the kind of things she shared that into our members only Facebook group. And so many people, when other teachers share little tips and things like that, everyone loves it because I always say, I'm not the expert on everything. I started this membership, but I'm not the only go-to. The collective wisdom of everybody in the group is where the magic happens as far as community. And like you said, going from feeling like you're alone or you have one other person in your school to talk to about your job and what you do every day to having a community where they're going through the same thing as you and you can relate so much and bounce ideas off of each other. So I'm always happy to see when members do that. And you doing that is a testament to not only your commitment to your classroom, but kind of that greater whole of working together as a big team, even though we're not in the same district. So thank you for that, Jana.
Thank you. Thank you for everything. Like I said, I went from being very overwhelmed to feeling like I can do this again.
Oh, I love this. Oh, okay. I need to schedule one-on-one calls like this every now and then just to like fill my heart up and not feel like I'm just alone here creating stuff on the computer. So we'll have to do this again sometime. Thank you so much, Jana.
My pleasure. It was a joy.